Australian workers and businesses have been spared from Donald Trump's steel and aluminium tariffs. Malcolm Turnbull secured the deal this morning, making Australia just one of three nations with an exemption. Here's political reporter Dan Conifer.
Bell ringing at this South Australian winery usually heralds the beginning or end of vintage. But it made an exception for Malcolm Turnbull.
That's good. I've never done that before.
After he secured an exemption to Donald Trump's steel and aluminium tariffs.
You have to be relentless in your advocacy for Australia.
Donald Trump dialed down under this morning with news his 25% steel tariff and 10% aluminium tax wouldn't apply to Australia.
Well done to this point in time. Let's hold our breath now and understand what it all means as it flows through and prepare ourselves if there's any flow-on impact.
Combined, Australian steel and aluminium exports to the US are worth about $500 million each year. That's a small fraction of the $60 billion worth the US imports annually, and about a third of that comes from Mexico and Canada. But they're now exempt too. That leaves producers like Brazil, Russia and China facing the new import tax. Australia has escaped the tariff hit, but there are now fears a glut of steel could be dumped into the domestic market.
Aussie companies can't compete with that, and so they lose out, they lose contracts, and the workers they employ lose their jobs.
There could be other costs too. President Trump has tweeted he's working very quickly on a security agreement so America doesn't impose steel or aluminium tariffs on Australia. But the Prime Minister says that security agreement is just
shorthand for the legal paperwork that has to follow.
We shouldn't imagine that it's always just going to be favours given to us by the United States.
Today, a deal done. Tomorrow, a plunge back into diplomacy. Dan Conifer, ABC News, Canberra.